Hey guys, Sean Morey and Dustin Weitzel joining you for another session of LenCred Credit Geek Q&A. Today we are going to be talking about 401ks and how to utilize them for a small business startup situation. Dustin, you want to start on this one?
I'll start off and then I'll kick it back to you because I know you used to deal a lot in that space.
Absolutely.
But I think first and foremost it's important to, like we've said on previous videos, but to know all your options. 401k can always be a great option because that's money, that's your savings, but remember, that's your money, that's your savings, that's everything you have. So if you're going to use it for acquisition or a down payment for other type of financing and those things, that may be great. If you're only looking for a smaller dollar amount that maybe you could get through a different vehicle and still keep that safe, you always have that as a backup. And so that's kind of what I talk to my clients when they say, I think I pretty much want to go that direction. We just go ahead and say, hey, what if we can do it in this way? Then you can keep that if you need it, and in the meantime still be using what you have. And so I'll give it back to you on that.
Well, and something you said that, again, just always rings a bell with me is, even in my earlier days as an advisor, something that I always said was, get business credit first, utilize that first. Get personal credit second.
Back up to your backup to your backup.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I wrote it down.
Yeah.
Back up to your backup to your backup. You don't want to use your personal cash unless you absolutely have no other choice. And your 401k, especially if you just go and pull it yourself, you're going to pay penalties on it. There are companies out there that will help you to convert your 401k over into your company, and I'm not going to go into that today. I want to make sure we stay focused on utilization of this type of a product. But what's important to know here is this is going to be for specific things. You're not going to want to just use this for anything and everything that's out there. Just because you may have 150 or 200 grand in your 401k doesn't mean you need to tap into all of it. Potentially you can use that for down payment money for an SBA loan. I mean, you can use that for a multitude of options. You can use it to show liquidity. For franchise purchasing, it's one of the most popular things to do because you can pay that lump sum for the franchise, but then you're always going to need working capital at that point. So relying on just your cash and just your 401k, that hard-earned savings in retirement, isn't necessarily always going to be your best option, though it may be your easiest. I had a client who started their business with their own cash. I've talked about them before. Had 800 plus FICOs. Yep. They had a great business model, over $2 million in revenue if I remember. Went to borrow 5 years, 10 years into the business. They couldn't because they had never established any business credit. So,
That's a whole other topic.
God, you're telling me.
Yeah.
Now, on that point, Dustin, can you give everybody out there an example of a good 401k utilization situation that maybe you've ran into before?
It's similar to what we've been talking about. There's no one that stands out,
right.
but there's times where people knew that was their best option. Okay. So they thought until they realized there's other options. So my one client about 3 weeks ago wanted to buy the business for $100,000. They only needed to actually have $50,000, and then the rest was other fees that were associated that the franchise wanted them to have on hand.
Yeah.
So although I got them in for as little as the 50, that is all I needed instead of 100. Then we got all the rest in a different vehicle of, some credit cards and a small business loan. Okay. So instead of taking all their money out, they still have that as a backup, and we were able to kind of pull the rest of that money from other places. And they just said that they wanted to do it that way only because that's what they were told to do.
Easiest way.
From friends and family members.
Sure.
And that's cool, but again, the more education you have, the better decision you can make.
So in a nutshell there, for everybody who's not a credit nerd, they use part of their 401k instead of leveraging all of it, and then Dustin helped them get into some working capital that's going to help them to establish business credit and create some really cash flow friendly financing using the correct financial vehicle for the correct meaning. So, with that being said, I hope that helps answer some of your guys' questions wondering about 401ks and when to utilize them. Thanks for joining Dustin and I for another session of the LenCred Credit Geek Q&A.